Experiential learning is this notion of creating visceral experiences for ourselves and for students and co-learners. That often gets translated into things like co-op placements, field schools, practicums. What's exciting is the creative ways it gets done, both outside in the field and also here on campus.
In university, we focus so strongly on the theoretical, which is great, but it's really nice to step outside that and actually take the theoretical and use it in the everyday and see it in action.
As you go through school, and especially in university, a lot of more individualized experiential learning gets lost. And so the kinesthetic, the visual learners, they get lost in the crowd because they're just forced to be auditory learners. And I think that doesn't really apply to all of the learners in university, and so they can find themselves not excelling. And so experiential learning covers everyone's kind of learning style, which I think is really important because it gives everyone that opportunity to succeed.
We teach them in class, but it's not the same as doing it in the field. There's some things you just can't teach in a classroom. And for me, that is, I guess, the greatest teaching moment is seeing how students learn just on their own, with assistance, and by the end, how they just bring it all together and become completely competent.
It's a lot different to learn about these things firsthand and actually see them and touch them and experience picking the medicines than it is to see it on an overhead or hear a lecture about it. There's just some things that you can't get in a classroom.
In a lecture style class, the most anticipation you're ever going to get is, what mark did I get on that paper? Or, man, I wonder how this exam's going to go. But with this, it was like, I built this, and it's out there. Is it going to work? And that's electrifying. It's amazing.
The learning was so intense and powerful, and the whole ambience, the environment of learning about plants was so vibrant and so engaging that nobody wanted to leave that place. They just wanted to stay there.
The learning experience is really important, but also it makes you grow as a person. Learn different cultures, different people. It really helps you grow and have another perspective in life.
It really does actually help also having different students from different places, not just from the University of Winnipeg, but from all over, even from the country you're going to.
That I think is an ideal situation for learning, where the students recognize that they're learning a lot from each other, from their different world views, their different takes on how the world works.
Experiential learning has definitely created, I think, students that are more engaged with their community, especially if they've done placements.
And with the experiential learning class, you get something more out of it. You get to be a part of the community. You get to make real effects, real changes.
I think this project is very unique that way, that it actually was something that not only the next practicum class will take on, but that the legacy, that you can actually see the legacy happening in front of you, which I think is pretty unusual. You usually finish a class or you finish a course and then move along.
What we all learned in this one class just lasts forever. And I could just imagine if there were more classes and how far one could go.
It really got me thinking about how different courses could be run, how the university could be run differently. Considering that it worked so successfully for us, why couldn't it work in other forms?
I think it's definitely something that should be supported more throughout the university, and I think that University of Winnipeg has done a good job in offering a bunch of different locations and different programs.
I think it should be pushed more, and I think the best way to do that is not only to offer funds to your students, but also to encourage the students themselves to come up with projects. Whereas if you get it coming from the bottom up, where students say, I have this great idea, how can I do it? Then the university should be able to then step in and make it happen. So.
And I think that's one of the things that makes experiential learning so good too, is that it is individualized. The student kind of drives their own experience.
Yeah. The whole university should encourage this travel study course, which is really a life experience for students, and also it's a good experience for instructors who teaches this course, so they can also deepen their understanding of what they are teaching.
the Experiential Learning Grant providing some funds to allow us to do some of these things. We were just talking before we got here today, like we wouldn't have been able to do an overnight camping trip with 30 students if we didn't have some of the funds for some of the food, transportation. Some of the students don't have tents, so like all of those things, yeah, they take money, but also I think just giving like support and encouraging profs and students to be involved in experiential learning things is going to be beneficial.
You can learn about these things in a book, but until you go there and work with your hands, you're never going to really understand the full appreciation. And that's really what lit the fire for me, and that's why I'm here now, is because I had these opportunities when I was a student.
The experiences that students have had in all these different projects in different parts of the world are really very different and unique. And yet, when student participants talk about these experiences, there's an exuberance and a joy and a knowing that something of learning consequence happened that maybe could only have happened out there in the world.
So what's been really great about getting to talk to the various students and faculty who've been involved in experiential learning here at the University of Winnipeg over the past few months is how much enthusiasm everyone has and how committed everyone is to seeing whatever project they're working on grow. There's so much sort of in-house skill and drive to see experiential learning continue to thrive on campus, and it really makes me optimistic about where we're going to see things go in the next few years.